Hard to believe, but school is back in session. If you're a parent, that means you're already dealing with the early morning dash to school and coping with the chaos in the car line. I'm Matthew Petty. We're peeking inside the backpacks as another school year gets underway. School administrators are breathing a sigh of relief as millions of dollars in frozen federal grant money comes back online. But there's still uncertainty over funding. We'll ask a Hillsborough County Public School administrator how you cope with uncertainty and how you find enough bus drivers and teachers. You'll also hear from a teacher about what they're excited about and what's keeping them up at night as they start the new school year. We're joined by Shay McRae, Deputy Superintendent for Academics and Transformation at Hillsborough County Public Schools. Shay, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Matthew, for having me.
All right, so first of all, what does the transformation part of your title mean?
So thank you for asking. That is a special body of work for me. So in Hillsborough County, we've identified a group of schools that have been historically persistently low performing. And we've wrapped those schools up into a single department, and we provide resources and support for those schools. The goal is that schools that are low performing, previously D and F schools, we put together a very prescribed way of work, prescribed academic track. And the goal is to get those schools to a healthy C or better. And so we started the Transformation Network back in 2020. We've had 38 schools at a time with very low performing grades. We are now down in 2025 to only 2 of them that are a D. Our schools are up to a C. We have 5 Bs. We had an A school that was part of that network. And so we're really excited about the work that we're doing in our Transformation Network.
Okay, 2022, tough year to be starting any kind of new project.
Yeah.
Now, you have more than 224,000 students. It's one of the largest school districts in the country. What is the biggest challenge about getting your district ready for a new school year?
So what's always interesting is at the beginning of the year, we want to make sure that kids actually get to school and get to school on time. And so believe it or not, we transport over 78,000 students in a single day to school. We transport more students than Heartline, than even our airport systems. And so when we think about starting the school year, we go from start very early in the morning when kids are standing at the bus stop all the way to the end of the day. And so making sure that we get kids to school on time, that is our first goal of the day.
Hillsborough County Schools had a bus driver shortage of about 200 last year. Now, it's not the only district that's been struggling to find drivers.
Yes.
What about this year? Do you have enough drivers?
So this year, we are only short about 50 drivers. And so we have plans to make sure that kids get to school on time. And thanks to our millage referendum, we were able to recruit more drivers as well as more teachers. And so we're excited about that. And so having a shortage of 50 is not a bad thing. We're able to kind of absorb those. And we'll continue to hire until we get those vacancies filled. But 50 is not a bad number.
How do you absorb? I mean, if you have, obviously 200 is worse than 50, but even 50, that's a challenge. What happens to the route when you've got some drivers missing?
Yeah, so we apply a strategy called a double run. And so what happens is your bus driver will go out and they'll do their first run, and then they'll come back and they'll pick up their second round of kids and they do a second run. And so through a double run situation, we're able to absorb those routes, and we are still able to meet our time frame and get kids to school on time.
Now, schools were staring down the barrel of some pretty big funding deficits at the end of the last academic year with those frozen federal grants. Those grants are now unfrozen, which is a good thing.
They've been released. Thank you.
So how big a difference does it make to Hillsborough County Public Schools to have that money back again?
So I will tell you the impact of those federal dollars would have been roughly $24 million that we would not have seen. So we're very thankful that those funds have been released. There are multiple categories that those funds were covering, anywhere from academic additional services and support for students, migrant support for our migrant programs, Title I federal programs, academic enrichment. So we focus on the arts and enrichment. It also was money that's geared toward professional learning for adults. And so those categories are huge for us, and they help us keep our programs going. So having those funds released was a big deal.
So you would have been able to keep doing what you're doing, but it would have been a much leaner school year.
Oh, much leaner school year. Yes, we would have had to kind of revisit some of those things that are over and beyond, and really identify what is it that we really need to do, what are some things that we want to do, but maybe have to scale back. And so, yes, we would have had to make some adjustments throughout the year in the absence of that funding.
You mentioned the millage and being able to put in some more bus drivers and more teachers too.
Yes.
So, and again, this is another thing that a lot of school districts struggle with, right? It's like
Right.
filling those teacher vacancies.
Yes.
So how's Hillsborough looking this year?
So Hillsborough is looking pretty good. We are the largest employer in Hillsborough County, and we employ roughly 24,000 people. Of the 24,000 people, 15,000 are teachers in classrooms. This year, we'll have 430 vacancies. It's about 2.6% of the teachers in our room. And so we've established a partnership with Kelly Services. And in those vacancies, we get subs that will come in and fill those vacancies. And in some cases, we might have teachers to say, hey, I'll take an extra 2 or 3 kids so that they can be with a certified teacher. And so we have that as well. So we will always, keep our positions posted, and we will be looking and trying to recruit teachers ongoing. But we are 200 teachers less in vacancy than we were last year. So last year we started the year with about 600 vacancies. This year, 430. And we attribute that to being able to offer a higher salary through our millage.
Is that just a one-time thing, that millage, or is it something that you think is going to keep teachers coming back year after year?
I think it's going to keep teachers coming back. So remember that the millage referendum is a 4-year span. And so we're able to give increased salaries for the life of that 4-year span. So for the next 4 years, they will be able to see roughly $6,000 more in their pockets. I'd like to thank USF. They've been a great partner with us for decades. And one of the things that USF does a really good job is placing interns into our schools. And so that is a way that we recruit, we attract, and we sustain our teachers. So I just want to give a shout out to USF. Thank you for the partnership, the College of Education. Our interns have great experiences, and we hire majority of those interns into our school district. So thank you.
Wow. So that sort of new teacher pipeline is pretty important.
Oh, yeah. Very important. And them having the experience in one of our schools to actually be in a school, see the kids, understand our way of work is so important. And they build family. Those internships are sometimes 3 years long, right? And so they build family, they build partnership. And so we have the opportunity to recruit and hire.
Hopefully those teachers would stick around in Hillsborough County once they get hired.
Yes. That is the goal, is to retain them.
Hillsborough County, like every other school district in Florida, there are some changes this year, right? There are some new rules in place around cell phone use in schools.
Yes.
Middle and elementary schoolers can't have them during the school day. What does that mean for the district?
So we definitely... We have always had rules where we want students to have their phones put away, right? You don't want kids in an academic environment on their phone. And so what it means is that students, when they get to campus, they're going to put their phones in their book bag. They can have it on their person. We just want them to be off. We don't want students to be distracted by the phones. We want them to be focused on academics. So in our elementary and our middle schools, they will be phones off from the beginning of the day until the end of the day. And in high school, there is a little flexibility during some of those non-academic times where schools can make a determination whether they want to allow phone usage. But for the most part, we want kids focused on learning, not focused on their phones. And so we hope that this will be an improvement in our learning environments, right? Kids will be more focused and engaged in the learning environment.
Are you getting some pushback from parents on that?
Not yet. We haven't heard pushback. I know that there are some concerns out there, and I'd love to just address this right now. There are some concerns, like what if an emergency happens? What if something happens? And so I want everybody to know in Hillsborough, we have a very robust parent call system. We launched a new website. There's going to be a new app that we're going to be introducing to parents this year where they can get on the app and get information at their fingertips. But anytime there's an emergency, rest assured that we are always doing phone calls. We have immediate robocalls. With that in mind, parents, make sure that all of your contact information is updated in our system. And again, we're not saying students don't bring a phone. We're saying we want them powered down. So students will have the opportunity, in the case of the emergency, to grab their phone if they need to power it back up. But we are very much aware of that concern for parents, and we want them to be assured that we have ways of contacting you immediately through text message, through phone, through email. We now have a new app, and we do our robocalls all the time when there's an emergency situation.
There's been some challenges that Hillsborough County and a lot of school districts have been going through in Florida around books being removed from school libraries over what the Department of Education is calling inappropriate content. Are you
Yes.
expecting that you'll be asked to remove more books this school year?
So I'll tell you what we've done just to kind of be proactive in this measure. The state has put together a book list over the last 2 years of books that maybe have been cited in other districts that they want us to review.
Mhm.
They also gave Hillsborough County specifically a list of 55 books that had explicitly inappropriate content in them. We've removed those 55 books, and we have our media specialists reviewing the other titles on the other book list. We are always, as part of our ongoing process, we're always reviewing books in our collections and our catalog. And now we're very clear before books are even ordered in a new order, for an example, this year, that we are making sure that we don't have books that have sexually explicit or inappropriate content in them. So that will be something that will be always ongoing in our system.
How do you balance the competing demands of parents and maybe media specialists who say, look, there are some of these books with guidance are appropriate and they should stay on library shelves, and then folks who say, no, we don't want this anywhere near our kids?
Right. So one of the things that we're trying to kind of adopt in what was said earlier this summer in a state board meeting is, as we read these books, if there's content that we would be embarrassed to read out loud, then it's probably not appropriate for kids. And so we're going to kind of use that as a barometer. Other than that, we're pretty much able to have books that kids want to read, and that's relatable and that's realistic for them. And so we're just kind of honing in on the whole, inappropriate content, explicitly content material, and making sure that we're staying away from those texts.
Are you expecting some pushback from parent groups to say, look, this is essentially censorship, though?
So we have had that. We have had that this is censorship, or for an example, that this is book banning. At the end of the day, we have to follow state statute. We get state funding. And that state funding is tied to us following state statute. And so we are going to stay in alignment with what our state statute is saying. And right now, the state is saying, at this point, no inappropriately explicit materials. They haven't talked about other topics. But at this point, that is what we're going to make sure that we follow in accordance with the state attorney general as well as our education commissioner.
And about a minute remaining. What are you looking forward to most about this school year?
You know what? I'm so excited to have the kids back. We had a record year last year. We had our highest % of students graduating in a year. And so we're expecting higher numbers this year. But we're super excited about the kids coming back. The kids are excited about a new year to see their friends. We have Friday Night Lights starting. Football season is underway. Cheerleading is starting. Like, it's so many exciting things at the beginning of the year. And so we are already out in schools and we're welcoming faculties back. The superintendent and all of his staff, we've been out in schools greeting our teachers. It was our professional learning day for all of our instructional employees. We got a chance to go around to say hi to everybody. So we look forward to just seeing those excited faces.
Shay McRae, Deputy Superintendent for Academics and Transformation with Hillsborough County Public Schools. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us.
Summer's coming to an end, and at Florida Matters, we're excited about the fall. And we could use your help with some upcoming shows. If there's something you've always wondered about Tampa Bay, or a story you think needs to be told, let us know. Maybe it's an interesting job that someone's doing in the Tampa Bay region, or a person you think deserves to be highlighted. If you've got ideas for what you'd like to hear on Florida Matters, reach out by phone or email. Call 813-755-6562. That's 813-755-6562 and leave a message, or email floridamatters@wsf.org. You're listening to Florida Matters. I'm Matthew Petty. School is back in session for students in Hillsborough, Pinellas and Polk counties. If you're a parent, you may be feeling a little relieved about that. If you're a kid, probably not so excited. With us is Jeff Solacek, Tampa Bay Times education reporter. We're also joined by Shanta Telemontes. She teaches math at Martinez Middle School in Lutz. Thank you both so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me today.
So, how long have you been teaching in Florida, Shanta?
This is year 25 for me.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you've seen a lot of changes, I'm sure, throughout the classroom and the curriculum and everything in between.
Yes, I have.
All right. So what's a day in the life of a teacher like? Because I know, the kids may be starting class kind of around 9 a.m., maybe clocking out around 3, but there's a lot more to it for a teacher, right?
So in middle school, the traditional time for middle schools, we don't actually get kids till about 9:30, and they're
Mhm.
here till 4:30.
Yeah, but you're busy preparing stuff, before class, you're kinda busy maybe with after-school activities afterwards as well?
Yeah, so for me, I usually come in early because I'm on a campus where the elementary, middle, and high school are all in the same driveway.
Mhm.
So if you don't time it right, you get stuck in elementary traffic or high school traffic with new drivers. That can be scary. Um, so I come in before all of that starts. And after school, I usually attend like sporting events to support the students or after school work days, things like that.
Mhm. Yeah, I know at my kids' middle school, the car line can get a little bit, iffy at times. Sometimes parents are looking for ways to kinda short circuit things and not really playing along. I mean, are there some strategies you have to sort of use to make sure that everybody keeps their cool and kinda keeps smiling as they're dropping their kids off?
Well, for our school, we actually have a video of how to drop off and pick up your children appropriately.
Mhm.
It's usually if there's a difference in timing for the elementary or the high school, then everything kind of goes in a weird order just to keep that going. But we have several teachers and an intercom system for pickup, which makes it go very quickly at our school.
That's good. Now, teachers are often working at another job over the summer. What was your summer like? Were you able to take some time off? Were you working another job?
So once I had children, I stopped working summers. So this summer I spent 3 weeks in Japan and a week in Minnesota, and no work on school.
Oh,
I
wow.
took my break.
That sounds fantastic. Now, the last couple of weeks before school, though, I'm sure you're sort of back at it, sort of thinking through, trying to strategize for the semester ahead. What are those last couple of weeks before school starts up again like for you?
So teachers start back in the classroom August 1st. So I came on Wednesday and put my room back together because in the summer, the custodial staff cleans the rooms and rearranges all of our furniture. Sometimes we have to relocate it from other classrooms. So I wanted that stress done before I had to report back officially. And then I have just been working nonstop since then, trying to get things settled. I have a new course this year that I haven't taught in 17 years.
Mhm.
So that means I'm starting fresh, which makes a lot more work. Instead of editing something I've previously done, I've had to start from the beginning again.
I'm wondering about cell phones because, as a middle school teacher, we do have that new law kicking in where kids aren't allowed to have cell phones with them during class time. Is that going to make a big difference, do you think?
I'm concerned about it because we use it as a resource a lot. It's a quick way to do a quick check in place or a quick place for them to start on their assignments prior to going home at night. A lot of these
Mhm.
students have very busy home lives, sometimes overly busy home lives. So I try to keep their assignment time minimal. We do have classroom computers at our school, but that's not around the district. So some schools in the district have less computer availability than others. So I think we have it a little easier here that the students can get out the classroom computers to work, but phones work a lot quicker. So if I'm almost finishing up with the topic and we're going to have time to do a quick Quizlet Live, I can say, get your phones ready. After this question, we're going to jump on for a 5-minute live. They can't do that when they have to all go up and get to a computer cart, 25 kids all at the same time. So it takes a lot of time, and they often run updates or the student before them didn't log out. And so it takes a lot more time to not use phones in educational purposes. And I wish they would apply what they did to high school to middle school,
Mhm.
especially, teachers teaching high school credit courses. We're in the same boat as a high school teacher teaching this class, but we don't get the option to have educational time on their phones with them.
Yeah, that's interesting because I think maybe people who don't have kids in school, or even maybe some who do have, maybe looking at this issue and thinking, well, phones are just going to be a distraction. But you're really saying look, they're there, the kids have them, let's use it. It's a useful thing. It's kind of part of kids' lives. It's a tool they
Right.
can use to kind of get ahead with their studies.
It's kind of like the old school thought when calculators came out and
Mhm.
everybody was like, you're not always going to have a calculator. Well, yeah, we are. They didn't go away. Well, that's just a crutch. It's not going to make you better. But for many, it did. So I feel like it's similar with phones. Now they're like, oh, the phones are ruining you. But if you teach them, if we take the time to educate them in the classroom about the appropriate and inappropriate use of them, we spend a majority of the day with your kids,
Mhm.
so it's a good time for us to help get them used to handling them appropriately.
Jeff Solacek, I wonder if what's going through your mind as you're listening to this discussion about phones particularly. I mean, are you hearing something similar from other kind of school districts where you kind of check in with some of the teachers? Is there a little bit of pushback from the teaching staff about this notion of getting rid of phones from the middle school classrooms throughout the day?
Well, it's mixed because there are teachers who definitely think that kids abuse the phones and they don't want them to use them in those ways. But they also have that opportunity, like she said, to teach them how to use them properly. And they do have their place. That's why they were introduced in the beginning, because they said that you can use this for instructional purposes, especially when schools were struggling to get their own individual devices for everyone so everybody could have access.
Mm-hmm. I want to ask too, Shanta, about school supplies, because you do hear a lot about teachers having to sometimes dip into their pockets to pay for stuff throughout the year. What's your experience been, and so what are you seeing at your school?
For me personally, I don't use a lot of school supplies because I teach a high-level math class for the most part. Even when I have the lower-level math classes, it's very minimal supplies needed to teach math. We have a good support system. PTSA provides us with a lot of things if we're struggling to get them on our own. I would say most of the teachers at our school are supported. And if one teacher has a surplus of an item, they provide to the others. We'll be like, hey, anybody have extra pencils that they're not going to need? And then they just go to someone who could use them more. Mm-hmm. But I know for other schools, it's more difficult. The schools where the student population can't provide the extra help, or many teachers have an Amazon wish list where our friends and family, even the parents, once the school year starts, are able to provide the wish list items for us, if you will, off of the list, and they can get those for us. So last year I had an Amazon wish list, and a former high school student, high school person, I went to high school with them. They filled my entire list.
Oh, wow.
They saw it. They saw that I'm a teacher. They wanted me to be supported, and they did that. So then, someone else is like, what can I help with? And it's like, these people still need this. And we're able to help each other. But I know it's not the same in lower income communities.
Has that been able to get stuff online through Amazon or, other online means? Has that sort of made it a little bit easier to fulfill some of the needs that teachers have throughout the year?
Absolutely, because the parents can see that and they can just purchase and have it automatically sent where it needs to go, as opposed to sending their child in with, a box of tissues or a bag of pencils. It's just easier to get it done, and you don't have to hear the kid go, I don't want to do that. That's weird. Only certain kids bring stuff in. Mm-hmm. And I think it relieves it. They can see that need and fill it how they feel they're able to.
Yeah, it's probably not that common, though. You would get some kind of angel swooping in and saying, I'm going to buy everything on your list, right? It's sort of like those stories you hear about somebody buying everybody's groceries in the line, the checkout line in front of them or something.
Right, exactly. I mean, I was like, oh, thank you. I got the box of pencils you ordered. And they were like, oh, no, I sent your whole list in. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
It is not even someone I talk to regularly. They just saw Facebook, me post my Amazon list, and went, okay, I can do this, and did it. So I think as a community, I see more and more of that. People asking, what are the wish lists and what can we help with?
Teachers have a lot of demands on their time. How do you kind of juggle all your responsibilities?
Some of it is coming in early. I generally try not to do work at home because I think that's important to have family time. Mm-hmm. And I encourage my students to do the same. Obviously, sometimes they have that. But I have learned to say no more often and step back out of responsibilities that are overwhelming and non-supported. So that has helped a lot for me, where I used to coach many sports and run a lot of extra programs. As my children got older, I stepped more and more away from all of that and focused just on the teaching and the time with the students and families.
We talked a little bit about the phones. Is there anything else that's different about this school year that's going to make it different, like whether better or worse or more challenging or less challenging for you as a teacher?
For us, we have new administration. So we have 2 assistant principals and 1 principal, and only one of our assistant principals is staying from the previous year. So we have a new assistant principal and a new principal. Mm-hmm. So making changes and, understanding their philosophies and expectations definitely is going to be something that, is a learning curve for us.
Yeah. Jeff, I wonder about that because, filling those staff positions throughout the year, we talked about bus drivers at the top of the show and also teaching positions, sort of teacher vacancies. I mean, how challenging is that from the folks that you talk to and the districts that you cover?
It's different in different districts. Now that they all have their property tax referendums approved, each district has found they've been able to increase teacher pay, and they have seen a decrease in the vacancies that they have now compared to a year or 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
The principal issue is a big one because I would say a good quarter to a third of the schools throughout the Tampa Bay area have new principals coming in this year through a series of retirements or promotions or resignations.
Mm-hmm.
And I spoke to some people in Pasco County lately who said that, they looked around and a lot of times they're uncompetitive in their principal pay. And so sometimes finding a new principal for those schools outside of the district is harder to do.
Yeah, what about that? We've got a little bit of time left here, but what about that, Shanta? I mean, the principal can make a huge difference to a school, right? Like they can really sort of shape the direction the school goes in.
Yeah, absolutely. In my previous school, a lot of changeover happened when we had a new principal come in. At this school, our previous principal came in. There was not a lot of changeover. This new principal, not sure how it's going to run. I mean, he didn't get appointed until I believe last Tuesday.
Wow.
So
not a lot of lead time. Yeah.
Right. And we showed up on Friday, so Tuesday evening, he was announced at the school board meeting and shows up to our first meeting Friday, hi, welcome.
Yeah.
We're pretty high achieving school with a lot of expectations in general that we put on ourselves. So not sure, how that flow is going to go.
Yeah.
And we're still, even though we're at a school that a lot of people would consider a nice school to work at, we still have vacancy.
Mm-hmm.
So we're still hiring. This morning, we're doing interviews even.
Yeah, I guess, it doesn't matter what the school's like, to your point. It's still a tough job. I mean, there's a lot you've got to put into teaching. You really have to be committed. It's more than a job for a lot of folks, right, Shanta? It's a calling. So you have to have that drive to be really good at it. We've been speaking with Shanta Talamantes, who teaches math at Martinez Middle School in Lutz. Thank you so much for joining us and all the best for the upcoming school year.
Thank you.
Also with us, Jeff Solacek, education reporter for the Tampa Bay Times. Jeff, thank you so much for your insights. Appreciate it.
Anytime. Thank you.
That's our show for today. Florida Matters executive producer is Grayson Doctor. Our producer is Amelie Horace. Editorial guidance from Mary Shedden. This episode was produced by Scott Wachtler. Our engineers are Dave Anderson, Jackson Harp, Gio Garvin, and Blake Bass. Subscribe to Florida Matters wherever you get your podcasts and watch on WUSF's YouTube channel. I'm Matthew Petty. Thanks for listening.